Steve Kornacki, thank you very much. And Claire McCaskill, to your point earlier, struck by those gender numbers. First of all, it's interesting that we've got a pretty heavily female-skewed demographic in terms of who is turning out, 42% male, 58% female. But among female voters, we're looking at Buttigieg doing better than anybody else.
Yeah, kind of a jump ball among female voters. They're all very similar. I'm assuming that the
section of the pie chart that is not filled in there is everybody else. Yeah. So we were looking to see how Klobuchar, for example, would be doing among female voters. You can't break her out from this tally. But yeah, Buttigieg first with female voters, then Sanders, then Warren.
Yeah, it's interesting to me, and it shows you that we have not yet figured out how to get all the women to unite behind women candidates. And I'm not sure that's a bad thing, because we don't want somebody to vote for a man just because they're a man. We shouldn't vote for a woman just because they're a woman. But there is this aspirational thing among women that is real. We want to see a woman in the Oval Office someday, because we know how many great women are out there that could do a fantastic job.
So is it a question of the right woman hasn't yet positioned herself to run, in terms of how these women are looking at an Elizabeth Warren versus an Amy Klobuchar versus a Kamala Harris?
Maybe. I mean, what we've been seeing consistently, especially tonight, but in the lead up to tonight, and it's no surprise, is electability, 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 electability. That's the basis, right or wrong, that's the basis on which Democrats say they are making their choice. Women, as much as, and in many cases more than men, are telling pollsters that they have doubts about whether a woman can beat Donald Trump in 2020. And so women have doubts on the electability front about a female candidate. Now, again, rightly or wrongly, whether or not that is deserved, but you're not seeing a sort of gender solidarity, women putting their hopes for a female glass ceiling breaking candidate ahead of their perceptions that a female candidate would be disadvantaged in the general.
I think that's exactly right.
Yeah.
So do you think in another world primary process where you didn't have a Donald Trump sitting on the other side waiting, but you had a Jeb Bush or Marco Rubio or some other Republican, would these women then look at and process the election question of electability differently than they do today?
Right. So do you end up, I think it's a fascinating question, and I don't know how to answer it, but do you end up with different perceptions of how gender will affect electability in the general election only after Donald Trump beat Hillary Clinton?
Right.
Or if it had been a different male Republican candidate who had beaten Hillary Clinton, would it feel differently? Is it just because of his style that people expect that he'll be crude and transgressive and reductive about gender in a way that he has been in the way that he's criticized women as president? I don't know, but it is clearly this is the army that the Democrats are going to fight. Is the Trump era Republican Party, and there is a perception among Democratic voters, in women more so than men, that it'll be difficult for a female candidate, a female nominee, to beat Trump. And that perception is as much of a glass ceiling in Democratic politics for women than anything that's going to arise sociologically from the electorate and a general election context.
The fear of re-electing Trump for women is real. That's why you see such a huge gender gap in terms of his approval numbers, in terms of head-to-heads in potential presidential contests. Women really have a visceral fear of this guy in the White House for another 4 years.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.